time for our coffee club. It's Wednesday, and that means that we have our special guest. You're going to become a fixture. Lance Arbuckle is here again, superintendent of the Pocahontas School District, and he joins us once again. Good morning to you. Let's talk this morning a little bit about something that should be really at the top as far as what's important in a school system. I don't care how large or small the school, literacy in this country is vitally important, and I know you want to mention a few things about that.
I do. Last week we had talked about, here in Pocahontas, we're going to be about two things. We're going to be about academic excellence, and we're going to be about building positive relationships with kids, with families, with teachers. And, as you said, literacy is one of, if not the most important things we can do. Kids have to learn to read. And so, literacy is foundational. If we're going to have academic excellence throughout the system, then kids have to be able to read. Your listeners may already know this, but from preschool to second grade, we teach kids how to read. They learn to read. Yeah. But from third grade beyond, they read to learn. And so reading is fundamental to being able to in those upper elementary and junior high and high school grades. Is a second language as important as I think it is nowadays? It certainly is. If nothing else, just having a basic understanding of other languages gives you an understanding of how the English language works as well. And the better understanding we have on how the English language works, then the easier learning is for us to access as we get older. Gotcha. Now, there has been some recent successes, I understand, in literacy. Explain that to our audience. I appreciate you bringing that up. In fact, yesterday, the state released and kind of went through some of our growth data. So in Arkansas, we measure literacy both with achievement and growth, right? The idea is that we may have kids who are achieving. We may have kids who aren't achieving, but every kid should grow at least a year every year. And so, Pocahontas, last year we had a real focus on literacy and improving our skill sets, both as students and teachers. And, we were excited to see that when you compare Pocahontas to other students in the Northeast region, we had quite a few kiddos at our grade levels jump. So like, for instance, our third grade readers, they went from 10th place in the region to 5th place in the region. Hello. We had, our I think it's fifth graders, they jumped like 7 spots in the region. So we're seeing some really nice success with our work. And you wouldn't have that if you didn't have the teachers that are really dedicated to doing what's right, especially when it comes to something as important as literacy. The most important aspect, and this plays out in research wide and far, the most important aspect of a student's success is that classroom teacher. Yeah. And, for example, what I tell my teachers is, my job is to take care of them so they can take care of our kiddos. And that's no joke. They do. Yes, sir. They do a tremendous job. They don't get the credit they need. Well, they work very hard day in and day out. Because it's not easy wrangling 18 or 20 kiddos to do the same thing. Afraid not. Let's get to a topic that's called, tell me what LETRS stands for. So letters, that's what we call that, letters. Letters is the language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling. There you go. That is a long way of saying that is training for teachers on how to best teach the foundations of reading. So reading can be broken up into, now this is the science part of it, if you will, right? Reading can be broken up into things like the topics that we would call phonics, phonemic awareness, fluency? How quickly can kids read? Do they know the vocabulary? Are they able to comprehend what they read? And so there are specific things, specific behaviors that we can do as teachers with kiddos to help build those foundational kinds of things, right? It's as simple as, do they know what sound the C makes?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really it's that simple, but you have to break it down because that doesn't come naturally to kids.
I see.
Right? Reading is not a natural function. It's something that has to be taught.
You know, I've been in broadcasting all my life, and my wife and I watch the news almost every night somewhere on TV, and what gets me are the people who have jobs in broadcast news and how they use or misuse the language that is right there in front of them, that is so important when you're telling your audience, here's what happened in this particular news story. So you say it starts at from preschool to second grade. A moment ago you mentioned that. It needs to be, ongoing from what I see now.
Sure, and the truth is, it even starts prior to preschool, right?
Yeah.
The importance of just talking to toddlers, right? So toddlers can hear the word, right? They need to be able to hear that word. They need to be able to see how your mouth is formed when you're making that word. All of those things lead to preschoolers who become what we call ready to read.
Wow. All of this dependent upon just literacy. And as we go along every Wednesday, we're going to be talking about so many different topics. But to me, this one ranks at or near the very top. Literacy.
It most certainly does. Like we said when we started, if kids can't read, then they can't do the rest of it.
Tell me what A1 is.
Okay, so that's AI, artificial intelligence, right? Your readers may or your listeners may have heard of that, in the news a lot. That is a push in education right now. Is how are we using artificial intelligence to individualize for kids? And so here in Pocahontas, I've kind of become a little bit of an AI nerd on this, right?
Okay.
And so I have been working with a group of teachers to pilot an artificial intelligence tool that we have created in Pocahontas that is Pocahontas specific, because not every school district uses the same curriculum. Not every school district uses the same teaching materials, right? But we all in the state use the same assessment materials.
I see.
And so the idea is, how do we use artificial intelligence to create the Pocahontas educational experience, right, that would be unique for our community, and use those tools to what we call differentiate or individualize the learning for those kiddos.
When you told me what that was that I'm looking at, the AI, I thought, well, wait a minute. You're going to try to replace teachers, but that's not at all what you're doing.
No, in fact, we'll never, I'm just going to go on record, we will never be able to replace teachers, because like I said, the most important aspect to a kid's success is that classroom teacher. But what we can do is we can provide the best tools to our teachers.
It enhances their,
That's a great way to say it. It enhances the experience, not just for teachers, but for the kiddos as well.
Gotcha. Makes more sense when you say it that way.
Well, and we're trying to get better at our craft just like everybody else. We try to get better every day in our craft. And if there are tools out there that don't replace us, we're not talking about we're going to go full AI, but what we are saying is there are strengths to these tools, and how do we use them in Pocahontas to create the best experience for kids?
Okay. Now, We've talked about the importance of this and the importance of teachers. What about community support?
Community support is vital, because remember, I'm going to take us back a few minutes ago, right?
Okay.
Literacy starts with, are we talking to our toddlers? That seems simple enough, right? I'll give you an example. In our preschool experience here in Pocahontas, we have tried to replace. Your listeners may know that cell phones in schools is getting a lot of play right now, right?
Yeah.
And so even at the youngest learners, we're trying to interrupt that process of giving that preschooler a tablet or a device to watch by giving them what we call a one tab. It's a device that allows our youngest learners to start learning skill sets in literacy and math. Math is also important. We're going to talk about math at some point in the future, but math is also important. And give our youngest learners those skill sets. So again, when they come into preschool, they're ready to read, because it's our goal that when our kiddos leave our preschool program, they know 15 letters. And that they know a number, I believe it's like 24 sounds.
Okay.
Because that is what they need to be able to go into kindergarten and begin the reading process. If they don't know those, then we're already a little behind, and we have to start working on catching up right from the beginning.
Okay.
So parents in our community are vitally important to helping those kiddos.
Now, I was going to ask, do the moms and dads really, really need to make the effort to help get this thing where you say it needs to be and must be
the more
level?
The more adults talk to kids, the more prepared kids are to read.
There you go.
And that seems like it wouldn't be connected, but it very much is.
So what do you want? What do you want parents? What can they do that they may not even think about? As far as trying to extend their vocabulary as early in their lives as they can.
So the science of learning to read says that for our early childhood kiddos, our kiddos that are 4 and below, we need to spend 40 minutes a day having a conversation with those kiddos. Yes, sir. 40 minutes a day. And so if we're doing that, then we got kids off to a good start. Reading to our kiddos that sounds old-fashioned, but reading to our kiddos is a tremendous way to get them engaged in seeing the words, hearing the words, those kind of things. So just being able to do that is a wonderful piece. And then if you have school-age kiddos, getting involved in the events that our schools are doing. For instance, we have literacy nights that happen at the elementary and at MD. At different times. So I think one of February 6th is one of the next ones.
Okay.
That's coming up. So parents who have kiddos at MD, we'd love to have you join us on February 6th and be a part of some of these school-wide kinds of things that we're trying to put together.
What time, February 6th, and how long will it take?
I believe it's about 6 o'clock, and it usually goes for about an hour.
Okay, that's not bad.
No, it's not. The last time we did it, I think we had something like 450 parents show up. So we were very appreciative of all those folks who came and joined us and worked with their kiddos on activities around literacy and math and those things that are important to them.
Now, this is a simple question, but when they're doing this, when they're with their child and they're reading, you want that child right next to you to look at what you're reading, or
that's a best practice. That's what we would call a best practice.
Okay.
Right?
It's not across the table where the child can't see what their parents are reading. You want the child right there.
Unless that child also has a copy of the book and they can follow along.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to make connections in the brain. The science of it is we're building new neural pathways.
Right.
Right? Where kiddos are making connections of words, what they sound like, what they mean, what their vocabulary is. And the more we talk to kiddos, the larger their vocabulary is going to be. And the larger their vocabulary is going to be, the more resources they have to draw from when it comes to learning to read and eventually reading to learn.
There is so much more to this than the general public, and I don't mean to downplay it, but there's so much more to what you all put into a practice like this than mom and dad may realize. That's why it's a good idea for those 400 plus to bring somebody with them.
Yes, sir.
In February, and let's have 600 and some odd people.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
I know that you have to leave to go downtown, down to Little Rock for the legislative session. Is there anything in particular that you're going to be looking for, or is there a reason that something's going on down there in the legislature?
Well, there are a myriad of educational bills right now. I'm following approximately 63 educational bills, that would impact K-12 education. Everything from, and I think the governor announced her intention to provide free breakfast to every kiddo in the state.
Wow.
Right? I mean, one's, we're following that one. What we're going to, there's some bills out there on things that the legislature feels like we need to teach every year. Just lots of different things, a myriad of different things. So basically, I try to go down on Wednesday and meet with our area legislators as well as other superintendents, and we talk about, what would these bills do to education? Like, how would we, support these, or are there changes we would like to see happen? Vapes in schools is getting a lot of attention right now by the legislature.
Okay.
And so, we try to talk about and influence when we can, right? I mean, we're a democracy. We're all about, everyone has a voice. And so we want to influence these bills to the best of our ability to make sure that, what the product that we can put out for our communities, for our parents, for our kiddos, is the very best product we can.
Okay, your assignment for next week, next Wednesday when you come in, is to tell me what went on this morning and this afternoon when you're down there. I'd love to see what you glean from a day with the legislature.
We'll put that on the list for next week.
That's a great idea. Thanks for being here again, and we'll see you in a week.
Yes, sir. I'll be here.
All right. Dr. Lance Arbuckle, our guest this morning on the Coffee Club.